Oh man, this is a depressing one because the Millwall fans are not a happy bunch. I was tagged in a brilliant thread, Sam, where someone had quoted my relegation theory, that the four things, or a combination of the four things that generally relegate clubs, are lack of size, bad luck, chaos, and owners. And this Millwall tweeter was arguing that at the moment, all four are a problem for Millwall. They're sliding down the table, Sam. 2 home games at Fortress the Den. They've lost by an aggregate of 6-0, and Sheffield Wednesday beat them to pull them in further. Talk to me about a bad time at the moment for Millwall.
Yeah, it feels really bad, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm not going to go glass half full, but would you have expected them to get much more from the previous run of games? Losing against Hull narrowly, losing at Coventry, losing at home to Ipswich. In isolation, they're not disasters, in my opinion. I mean, and I'm talking from a place where I saw them play okay for periods against Preston. The only point, granted, in the last 7 games. Losing at home to Sheffield Wednesday, given the previous results, is a disaster. If that makes any sense. And I saw 4 gentlemen on the way to the Den on Saturday morning, and their young lad who was fully kitted up fell into me when the tube abruptly halted at London Bridge. And I said, you better look after him today. It's a biggie over the Den, isn't it? And they all just looked at me and went, got to win today. Got to win today. So, yeah, I thought it was a biggie. And I think the Millwall fans would have gone with that mindset that if it goes horribly wrong, this atmosphere could turn. And you could see with the goals going in, the reaction of the punters, it didn't look nice. Still, I this morning thinking about it, Ben, is this Joe Edwards isn't up to it, isn't a good manager, isn't a good coach?
I'm literally about to ask you that very question, Sam.
Or is this Gary Rowett? And I'm not going to do you should have stuck with him, because that's not my style. No, you know that. But was Gary Rowett doing an okay job with what he had on that training ground? I would suggest he was doing all right. And my reasoning for that, and it's been consistent all along, and I think the last time we spoke about Millwall, I spoke about those facets that are missing still within that squad. And that is still my sentiment. And I think a few of the Millwall fans corrected me and said, Casper Denore is that midfield controller, to one of my points. And I would go some way to agreeing with that, having seen him a bit more now. Good player, need to build with him, in the next couple of windows. But that squad is miles short, Ben. Miles short to be competitive in the Championship. So I would lean on Gary Rowett was doing an okay job. I would still say it was a gamble to go with Joe Edwards at that stage of the season, but there probably needed to be a sea change in terms of the style and maybe the overall view on how things needed to be done at Millwall to progress long term. And they're going through a bit of pain at the moment. Listen, I'd say stick with him, and hopefully he can garner enough points over the next few weeks for that pressure to be alleviated. But nothing would surprise me in football. And if we get to the last 5-6 games of the season and they still need a few points desperately, they could very well change again. Because I don't think any club in their right mind would want to. I saw Les Ferdinand talking about QPR the other day on a podcast, and I understood the merits of what he was saying. Dropping down into League One might have been the better thing for them in the long run. But I don't think business people would ever consider that, really. I think it's all about the here and now and staying in because of the finances. So, yeah, I hope he can turn it around. But, both ends of the pitch at the moment, it's not looking great. I think they've scored, 2 or 3 in the last 7. That's clearly a big issue. Something they're going to have to look at in the window in the summer, giving them a better goal threat. Because still, in my mind, there's a lot more defensively minded players in that squad than match winners and creators.
Obafemi as a sign-in.
I do, but he's had an illness for 2 games, hasn't he? And I think, I think you can see the predicament and the feeling around the place when they signed him at the back end of the window, and all of a sudden, even the press and even me going to a game with a few of my colleagues, oh, this is a great signing. He's going to turn him around. He'll get goals. It's a lot of pressure on someone who's not really been playing consistently for over a year now. So I don't know if that's going to be a quick fix, but yeah, absolutely, he can come in and hit the ground running. But I think a lot of the problems still remain at Millwall from Gary Rowett's early tenure. Not good enough ball playing defenders to change the style. Not good enough ball playing midfielders. Not enough depth in the squad. And at the moment, clearly, quite a few kind of samey forward players. So they need to look at that. And yeah, hopefully Joe's going to pick up a result. You know, I don't know Joe well, but I know him well enough to desperately want him to succeed. And I knew going in, it's such a tough job. My uncle texted me on Saturday night and told me off for giving Joe a bit of a talk up. He suggested, I think I just said that he was a mate of mine, and I hoped he did well. But even my family members are giving me grief. That's how bad it's got in South London.
Can I just make 2 points? You don't have to follow up, but you might have something to say. The first one is obviously the tragic passing of John Berylson, who was just like regarded by everyone as a really good owner, even down to the fact that nothing ever leaked out. You don't even know the contract lengths, and everything was so neat and tidy with him. And I feel bad in my heart that the first tough call his son has had to make isn't working out. And we've been around this topic before, Sam, of when you go from pragmatic, hard to beat football, even John Eustace to Wayne Rooney, if that is not managed in the right way. The biggest disaster I ever saw was you took out Mick McCarthy from Ipswich, sold a couple of players, you had Paul Hurst come in, okay, there's other stuff, and all of a sudden this percentage football is trying to turn it into something completely different. Bottom of the league, one of the worst teams to championships. It's got to be managed so carefully, that transition. Those would be the 2 points I'd make. I don't know if you've got anything to say about either of those.
Oh, yeah, the owner, 100%. I mean, that could... But I think that did affect the place, 100%. I was there early part of the season. I was there when they unveiled the changing name of the road outside the Den. I was there, and massive turnout. I think 2:00 on the match day, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people out there. So I think that absolutely had an effect. Change of the manager as well, early part of the season, and a manager who, like him or loathe him if you were a Millwall fan, like Gary Rowett, you kind of knew what you were going to get when you turned up there. You knew the style of football, you knew where their strengths were, you knew where their potential weaknesses were. So it's a massive change in probably like whole culture. Even the signing of Adam Mayer from Morecambe, I think, in the window, that's very, people would be shouting at the screens now, but it's very unlike Millwall signing a 19-year-old from League One, so League Two. Someone help me out. But you know what I mean. So I think there's been loads going on there, and maybe we're not privy to the conversations. Maybe it is, kind of an overhaul of quite a lot of things at Millwall going on behind the scenes, and I think it's probably necessary to kick them on, but they're feeling the pain at the moment. I mean, the reason I was quite optimistic when I walked away from that Preston game was quite simplistic. I've seen Millwall blow teams out of the water, and I've also seen Millwall over the last couple of years go into the lead, be commanding in early parts of games and then just fall away because they can't maintain the intensity of that performance. And I saw Joe's team recover in the second half after Preston had a 15-20 minute spell before half time, really good. Millwall came out in the second half and actually possessed the ball a little bit and probed and got that control back. And I've never seen Millwall have any control of games really in second halves. So I thought he was just trying to make them more rounded, more comfortable on the ball, but not so all out attack early and then let's hold this, let's go over the line by any means necessary. I saw a little bit of a different mindset from the players, so that was the reason I could kind of sense that there was a change going on. but obviously the last few results have been desperate. So Southampton next up, and then
God.
Watford, I think it is. They did the double over Watford last year, if memory served, because I spoke to a Watford fan at the tail end of last season who said that they were the team that impressed them the most. So not all is lost, but my goodness me, they need a result, especially the way that Wednesday and QPR are going.
Good chat, that Sam. We'll probably clip that one out. So if you are a Millwall fan,
no, I'd love to know like the intricacies, not like overly tactical, but what are they seeing in the last few games they're not happy with? Where's it gone wrong in this sequence? It'd be really interesting and for them to wade in on my thoughts, because my thoughts are probably based on the last 2 years of probably covering Millwall. I'd probably say I maybe do 6 home games a year and a couple of away games or so. So, it's a decent chunk. I've seen them, and my takeaways rarely seem to change.
Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think on Sam's view, and let us know quite bluntly, would you make a managerial switch if things get worse?